Remember, just a reminder, I'm keeping track. If you come without something to write with 3 days in a row, or 3 days, whatever, then I am writing you up. This is school. Bring stuff with you. Or you can borrow one from someone. Do you have something to write with, Isaac?
No. I have a very quick question.
Yes.
Can I go to my locker really fast?
No.
What's your earbuds plugged into?
I don't know. They're broken.
Right, just take them out.
What the crap?
Put your earbuds like in
Actually,
your
you should
pocket.
put your phone in your
Locker as well, yes.
I don't want to.
Do what?
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm asking you to. I haven't seen it yet, but they're plugged into something, so. Okay, grab the lights, David. Okay, so what we are looking at 4.1. So go ahead in the top right-hand corner. We're starting Unit 4. Unit 4 is talking about lines. So okay. We are talking about lines. So put 4.1 in the top right corner. Again, you are responsible for keeping track of Unit 4. Unit 4 will be a long section. So you need to keep these in a folder somewhere. I don't want you to just throw random papers in my closet over there. You can keep a folder and you can put them in a folder. So I took out all the random papers and I have them back here. So if those are yours, then you need to get them. Yes?
This notes?
What is that?
Oh, it's an assignment.
It says homework. It's an assignment. Okay, so section 4.1, so 4.1 we're looking at today. We are starting to talk about lines and how we graph lines. What we're going to do today is we are talking about slope. You've talked about slope before. You did it some in middle school. You have seen it first semester. You saw it first semester. Slope is a fancy math word, which basically just means what?
X and Y.
No, a little more specific. There's X and Y parts kind of as part of it.
Rise over run.
Rise over run. It kind of in layman's term, it is the steepness of a line. So when I refer to slope, all I'm saying is how do I represent how steep the line is? So if you think about skiing and I want the slope of a mountain or whatever, it's how steep the mountain is. So when I say slope, all I'm talking about is the steepness of a line. How steep is the line? Michael, close your computer. Actually, it's my computer. Thank you. Steepness of a line. So how steep is this line? That's all we're talking about when we refer to slope. And there's a couple ways to represent this. First of all, it is the constant rate of change of 2 points on a line. So this is another way to describe slope as the rate of change. How does my vertical difference change over my horizontal difference? Okay. The second thing, it is a ratio. Ratio we talked about before. It's a fancy math word that basically just means a what? Fraction. So it is a fraction or a ratio of the rise to the run. This is kind of like what when we first started talking about. Some of you guys remembered rise over run. That is slope. That's how we represent slope. It is the ratio of the rise over run. This is a fraction, rise over run. And it is known as the variable. What variable do we always use to represent slope?
X.
No, variable.
Y. X.
Nope.
X.
M.
Oh.
So M is the variable we use to represent slope. Y and X will be part of it. We'll use Y and X. But M, if you see the variable M, that is almost always used to represent slope. Okay, so you should kind of remember this stuff. Even if you're not 100%, you should be like, okay, this kind of looks familiar. Not terribly hard, not a lot of math to remember, just kind of things to keep track of. First of all, types of slope. There's 4 different types of slope. If my line is going uphill, this is a positive slope. So if I look from left to right and my line is going uphill, that is a positive slope. If I go from left to right and my line is going downhill, that is a negative slope.
0.
So yeah, you guys remember some of these. The next one has a slope of 0. The way I remember this, what type of line is this if it's straight across from left to right? Horizontal. If I think about spelling the word horizontal, it has an O in it. So if I think about spelling horizontal, H0 or HORI da 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 da, it has an O, which I think about as a 0. So that's how I remember zero slope. Is that O if I spell horizontal? Horizontal reminds me of 0. The next one is a vertical line, and a vertical line has an undefined slope. The way I remember that is the V in vertical kind of looks like the U in undefined. It's right next to each other in the alphabet. So vertical and undefined look similar. GHIGQRSTUV. Yep, they're right next to each other. So a vertical line has an undefined slope. Okay. First thing we're going to look at, how do I find the slope if I give you a graph? You want to do rise over run. So does the vertical change over the horizontal change? So if I look at number 1, okay, you're going to select 2 nice points where it hits nicely, and most of the ones they give you will have the points if you look closely. So I have 2 nice points marked. We're going to start with the left point, and we're going to go to the right point. So as I start from the left point, I have to do rise over run. I go up, which is rise, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I go up 7, that is a positive 7 over, because it's rise over run. I went up 7. I went right, 2, 3, 4. If I go right 4, that is a positive 4. So 7/4. It is a ratio, so it is kept as a fraction. Now we need to make sure we reduce the fraction. Is 7/4 reduced? Is it simplified? Yes, you do not write it as a mixed number. Leave it as an improper fraction. Can I divide 7 and 4 by something besides 1?
28.
Divide it by. They both go into 28, but what can I divide 7 and 4 by something? No, so that is reduced. So 28 they both go into, but we want to be able to divide them by something. So that is your slope. Keep it as a reduced fraction. I do not want a mixed number. Michael, keep your head up, please. Keep it as a mixed or an improper fraction. Okay, let's look at 2 real quick. If I look at 2, look closely. We're going to pick 2 nice points, and they already have them marked for you. First of all, just by looking at number 2, I know it's going to be what type of slope? Negative, because it's going downhill. So use that to your advantage. If it's going downhill from left to right, it's a negative slope. So let's think about this. As I start from my left point, I go down how many? 1, 2, 3. If I go down 3, that is a negative 3. So rise over run, my rise is my vertical change. I go down 3, so it's a negative 3. And then I go right how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I go right, that is positive, which makes sense because I said at the beginning it's going downhill, so that I should have a negative slope. I do. Can I reduce negative 3/9?
Yes.
What is that? Negative 1/3. I can divide 3 and 9 by 3, so negative 1/3. Reduce your fraction. What's the slope on 2 or on 3? It's a horizontal line. It always has a 0 slope. Now if I think about rise over run, let's think about this real quick. How much do I rise? If I look at my 2 points, I don't rise any. So 0, how many do I run? 1. So it's 0 divided by anything is 0. You can also think about it that way. If you do rise over run, I don't go up any, so that's 0. I go over 1, so that's 1. Well, 0 divided by anything is 0. So that's how you get 0. If I look at 4 real quick, it's a vertical line. So I know my slope will be what? Undefined, but let's see how I can figure it out. If I look at my 2 points, let's do rise over run. How much do I rise? No. 1, 2, 3. So I rise 3. How much do I go across left to right? 0. What do I get when I divide anything by 0? No. 0 on the bottom? Undefined. That's why you get undefined. You cannot divide by 0. So that would be another way that you can think of it as being undefined. Or you can just notice it's a vertical line, it's undefined. Okay. Let's look at a couple more. Let's flip to the back real quick. There's a lot of them on there. We're not going to do all of these. Let's look at 7. If I look at 7, okay, 6.
It goes 2 over 2. Would you make that?
Yeah, let's look at 6 real quick. Go back to 6. That's a good point. If I look at 6 real quick on the front page, sorry, let's look at 6 real quick. Okay, you have your 2 points. Let's do, first of all, positive or negative just by looking at it.
Positive.
Positive, so I know it should come out positive. Start from the left point. I go up how many? 2. I go up, so that's a positive 2. And I go right 2, so that's also a positive 2. 2 over 2 reduces to 1. Yep. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah, so if you have the same number over the same number, your slope is just 1. We'll look at a couple more. Now let's look at 7. If I look at 7 real quick, just by looking at it, I know it's going to be what? Negative, because it goes downhill, so don't make these harder than they are. You can tell half of the answer just by looking at it, and it's negative. Start from the left point. I go down 1, 2, 3. So negative 3. I go right 1, so it's a positive 1. Negative 3 over 1. Negative 3. So if you divide by 1, it comes out as a whole number. So it's either going to be a reduced fraction or a whole number, like that
I don't
one.
know if we did.
Yes, because you need to make it a negative 3. You should know by now that anything divided by 1 is just the number. Okay, and let's look at one more. Let's look at, which one? 16. Okay, let's look at 16 real quick. 16? 16, right there. If I look at 16, I should know right off the bat it's going to be a what? Positive. So pick your 2 points, which they should already kind of have marked for you. Start with the left point. I go up how many? 1 over. I go up, so that's a positive. I go right 2, 3, 4. So 1/4. I cannot reduce it. This is not 4 over 1, so it's not 4, so it's 1/4. Okay, any questions on these? Doable?
Yeah.
I think so. Okay, let me get the homework. You can do half of